Of Palpatine's plans, Order 66 was the most brilliant and destructive. This special command was built into the clones' inhibitor chips and compelled them to execute their Jedi commanders when activated. This allowed Palpatine to eliminate thousands of Jedi across the galaxy in a single move. But while a clever strategy, it was nearly exposed by one accident where an inhibitor chip malfunctioned. So what if this incident revealed everything? Welcome to Darth Theorist, where we explore the depths of the Force, analyze characters, and speculate on what could have been. Whether you're a Jedi Knight, a Sith Lord, or a curious traveler, prepare to ignite your imagination as we begin this journey. Clone Captain Rex and the 501st watch as a coffin is launched into space. Inside is the body of ARC Trooper 5s. Although technically a traitor to the Republic, no one there truly believes that. But while most think that 5s had simply snapped from battlefield stress, Rex believes there's more to it. He heard 5s talk about inhibitor chips planted in clones. It seemed crazy at first, but reports from Shaak Ti and Kix give him second thoughts. Rex wants to look more into this. The war prevented any further investigation from taking place. Even Anakin is too busy planning their next battle to look into this. There is one person who can help.
Ahsoka, I know you don't want to be involved with the Jedi anymore, but I've just learned something that could affect every single clone in the galaxy, and might lead to something deeper. I'm not in a position to do anything about it, but there's no one I trust more with this information than you.
Ahsoka Tano was no longer aligned with the Jedi Order, and was thus free to do any investigations without supervision. While reluctant to accept this task, she hears the desperation in Rex's voice when he mentions 5s, and sends him a quick message. The first step is to get information on Kamino. Their databanks are most likely the places for data about clones and their creation to be kept. Ahsoka is no longer a Jedi and doesn't have clearance to be there. Instead, she lands her ship on a small landing pad and sneaks inside. Using the Force to guide her, Ahsoka slips through the labyrinthian corridors, careful to avoid the watchful eyes of the Kaminoan scientists. As Ahsoka explores the research facility in Tapaka City, she finds the databanks deep within it. A sudden sound breaks the silence. Soft footfalls echoing through the halls. Ahsoka whirls around to find a Kaminoan scientist, his eyes wide with surprise.
Wait, you're not supposed to be...
Ahsoka reaches out with the Force, feeling it probe into the researcher's mind to sway his actions.
Of course, ma'am.
As Ahsoka examines the data before her, she can hardly believe what she sees. She reads not just one, but dozens of secret orders implanted into the minds of the clone troopers. Among them was Order 66, the directive to exterminate the Jedi Order if deemed necessary by the Chancellor. With the data secured, Ahsoka slips through the shadows and makes her escape. She transmits the information to Captain Rex, who files a report to Shaak Ti, the Jedi liaison on Kamino. He is then summoned to Kamino to confront Prime Minister Lama Su alongside the Jedi.
And where exactly did you get this information? A trusted source. This information is highly classified. This represents a major data breach if someone was able to access it. We came across this information during a routine inspection, Prime Minister. However, the real issue is the contents of this data.
Prime Minister, a Jedi lost their life due to the chip malfunction. We cannot allow such negligence to go unchecked.
I assure you, there must be some mistake. Our cloning technology is flawless.
I suggest you allow us to access the databanks so that we can learn the truth. Otherwise, we will have no choice but to take this matter to the Senate and the Jedi Council. Lama Su concedes to their demands, knowing that if this information got out, it would jeopardize their lucrative cloning contracts with the Republic.
Very well. We shall look into the matter, but I assure you, there is no cause for concern. While your researchers are at it, Prime Minister, perhaps they should consider deactivating the inhibitor chips for the time being. That is a prudent suggestion, Captain. I will relay it to my research team.
After the meeting, Captain Rex contacts a handful of clone commanders. These consist of officers like Cody, Wolf, Gree, Bly, Doom, and a few others. They represent the most experienced and trustworthy leaders of the clone army. Once they are assembled, Rex explains the nature of the inhibitor chips. Doom adds that he had seen the effects of these chips firsthand. He saw how they changed Tup into a mindless machine. All of the commanders agree that something big is happening, and to keep their eyes open. However, with the war going on, most of them are still on campaign. Even Rex will soon need to depart for Mandalore. The siege of Mandalore lasts several days, but ends in a Republic victory with Darth Maul being captured. While escorting the captured Sith Lord back to Coruscant, Rex receives a transmission from Coruscant. He sees it's coming from the office of Chancellor Palpatine. Rex orders all the troops out before answering the transmission.
Commander Rex, the Jedi have betrayed the Republic. Execute Order 66.
Rex says nothing, his helmet revealing nothing about his expression. Instead, he simply stares at the hologram until Palpatine ends the transmission. Rex says nothing until he finds Ahsoka at the bridge.
It's begun.
Something was not right, Palpatine thought as he set the holodisc down. Why did he not acknowledge the command? Was the clone simply being stoic? Unfortunately, he didn't have time to dwell, as there were many more commanders to contact. On Utapau, Commander Cody observed an artillery unit being set up. He had just spoken to Obi-Wan, who had just left to take command of the front lines when he received a transmission.
Commander Cody, the time has come. Execute Order 66.
Understood, sir. Although, may I ask why?
You have your orders, Commander. See them done.
Cody immediately orders an ATTE to point its cannon at Obi-Wan, but hesitates. He had known Obi-Wan since the start of the war. The general was completely loyal to the Republic, and never once faltered in upholding the Jedi Code. He was not about to stick a knife in his friend's back.
Sir, shouldn't we fire? No. If the Jedi did betray the Republic, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. But do any of you believe the General would do something like that?
The tank crew all look at one another, then shake their heads. The gunner lowers the cannon.
Hell no.
On Cato Nemoidia, Commander Jag has just received his commands. He and another pilot tighten the formation and lock onto Plo Koon's ship. And yet, he couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger. Master Plo had been the pride of the Jedi, a paragon of courage, loyalty, and selflessness. How could he possibly be a traitor? Without another word, both pilots disengage.
Jag, you're losing formation.
Apologies, General. There must have been a mistake.
At the jungle planet of Felucia, Jedi Master Isla Secure turned to see a dozen blasters pointed at her. She could only shut her eyes as Bly and his troopers fired. A moment later, Isla was surprised to find herself unharmed. She looked around and saw the plants around her smoldering. Meanwhile, Bly and his troopers were kneeling in shame for what they'd almost done. On Kashyyyk, Gree and another trooper named Jek exchanged glances, looking towards Yoda, but then Jek raised a hand and approached the Jedi Master, dropping his blaster to the ground.
Is something troubling you, my friend?
Jek said nothing, but 100 thoughts ran through his mind. He had met Yoda early in the war, when they fought off a battalion of battle droids. During the battle, Yoda gave him advice about fighting the war with his mind instead of weapons. It was what inspired Jek to become a scout trooper. Since that day, he knew Yoda was a wise Jedi who never did anything without a reason and saw the value of all life. There was no way he could have been a part of this coup. Jek dropped to his knees to face the diminutive Jedi properly. As he removed his helmet, Yoda would be stunned to see the clone tearing up.
Master Yoda, the Chancellor said that you've committed treason against the Republic. Please, tell me it's not true.
Not every clone hesitated like this. Bakara wasted no time in gunning down Ki-Adi-Mundi, and yet, Ki-Adi-Mundi seemed ready and killed over a dozen galactic marines before finally succumbing to his wounds. On Selukami, Neo also gladly complied with the order, but was shocked to see Stes Ali attempting to escape before being shot down. Still, across the galaxy, hundreds of Jedi like them died. Palpatine felt those deaths and the dark side growing in strength. But then they stopped. There should have been more. Even without the deaths of those in the Jedi Temple, the Jedi should have been crippled and the dark side pouring in. The balance had not shifted nearly enough. Something has gone wrong. Palpatine immediately calls for his ship to be prepared. In another part of the city, Anakin Skywalker stood at the foot of the Jedi Temple. But before him stands the 501st Legion, their ranks arrayed in perfect formation, a sea of blue and white armor.
Soldiers of the 501st Legion, the Jedi have betrayed the Republic. They are traitors and must be purged from the galaxy. We've been tasked with removing the dagger at the Republic's throat by capturing the Jedi Temple.
My lord, with all due respect, what evidence do we have? What have they done to warrant such a drastic response?
They attempted to assassinate the Chancellor, Commander, and I had to cut down Mace Windu myself after he nearly killed him.
Anakin attempted to sound angry, but his troops' doubts were getting to him, and his voice sounded bitter.
But how can we be sure that all the Jedi are responsible? What of the younglings, the Padawans, and the instructors too old to fight?
Enough! We have our orders. You clones are here to obey them.
General Skywalker, you've always encouraged us to think for ourselves, to question orders when necessary. To do so is what makes us human.
Anakin's breath caught in his throat as Appo's words struck a chord. The commander didn't sound angry. He sounded hurt. As he looked around, other troopers shared his sentiment. He saw the faces of the men he had led through countless battles, who'd shared the burden of war with him. He saw the shock in their faces. Slowly, Anakin deactivates his lightsaber.
We will march on the Jedi Temple, but not as conquerors. I will explain everything, but I want you men to hear it from me. Will you follow me?
This time there was no hesitation, no uncertainty in the ranks of the 501st Legion. As one, they raised their hands in a salute.
We will follow you, General Skywalker. To the end.
As they reach the summit, they are met with an army of Jedi. Hundreds of lightsabers gleam in the dim light. They were younglings who just received their first lightsabers, hunched-over graybeards, and knights in the prime of their lives. They raised their weapons defiantly, prepared to fight to the last in defense of their home and order. Anakin approaches them, feeling the gaze of hundreds of eyes staring at him. He drew his lightsaber from his belt and dropped it. The 501st Legion follows suit, their helmets and blasters clattering to the ground. One Jedi places his holodisc on the ground and reveals a transmission of Yoda, Obi-Wan, and the surviving members of the Jedi Council.
I have betrayed the Jedi Order. I've fallen to the dark side and become the apprentice of Chancellor Palpatine. He promised me power, mastery over the Force, and the power to save Padme and our unborn children.
Manipulated you were, young Skywalker. But all hope is not lost.
We suspected that something was amiss when Shaak Ti informed us about the inhibitor chips. We recalled as many Jedi to the temple as possible to prepare for a possible attack.
Let me make things right. Let me find the Chancellor and end his tyranny.
Perhaps we should contact Commander Fox. He was not informed about the inhibitor chips. I can contact him now, sir.
Appo activates his comlink and reaches out to Commander Fox.
Appo, has the Jedi threat been dealt with? Yes, the temple is secure. General Skywalker is heading back now to report to Chancellor Palpatine. You won't find him in his office. The Chancellor departed on his ship several hours ago. I think I heard the pilots mention Camino.
He's going to try and reactivate the inhibitor chips. We have to stop him.
Order all Jedi to Camino. We must.
Chancellor Palpatine strides through the blood-stained corridors of Tipoca City. Fallen clones and Kaminoans surround him while he wields a pair of blood-red lightsabers. Among the fallen are Shakti, who attempted to stop Palpatine, and Lama Su, who had been executed for his indirect role in foiling Palpatine's plans. But, as Palpatine reaches the end of the hallway, a figure emerges from the shadows. It was another Totaruga, but one much younger. Ahsoka's lightsabers are held ready, their bright blue glow reflecting the righteous fury in her eyes.
Ah, the wayward apprentice. You are a fool to think you are a match for the dark side.
To his surprise, Ahsoka smiles. As Ahsoka and Palpatine engage in their duel, the air crackles with each clash of their blades. Both rely more on agility than strength, turning weapons into blurs of flashing lights. They move so quickly that they can hardly track the other's movements. Ahsoka's agility and finesse allow her to press her attack, her dual lightsabers striking everywhere. But with each passing moment, Palpatine begins to gain the upper hand. His strikes grow more calculated, and Ahsoka is driven back, her defenses faltering under Palpatine's relentless assault. He finally finds an opening and delivers a powerful force blow that sends Ahsoka crashing into the wall.
You were a fool to face me alone, young Jedi.
Who said anything about being alone? A doorway opens and Captain Rex steps out. The barrel of his flamethrower glows orange as it unleashes a jet of fire. Palpatine's eyes widen and has to leap back to avoid the searing flames. From another doorway, a dark figure steps forward, his crimson gaze fixed upon Palpatine. Darth Maul smiles as he ignites his lightsaber.
I have no love for the Jedi, Chancellor, but it was not them who murdered my brother.
The Sith and Jedi rush Palpatine, attacking from both sides. Maul's dual-bladed lightsaber twirls at blinding speed, while Ahsoka spins around, turning her lightsabers into whirling arcs of death. Palpatine is forced on the defense and raises his lightsabers to block their attacks.
I will have your head as a trophy for all the wrongs you've done me, my master.
As Maul's anger builds, Palpatine senses unbalance in him and aims a kick at him. He strikes him right in the abdomen, where his flesh and robotic torso meet. This sends Maul reeling and allows Palpatine to focus on Ahsoka. With both hands, he blocks her next attack and aims a headbutt at her, sending Ahsoka reeling back. Rex attempts to fire his flamethrower again, but this time Palpatine is prepared and redirects the fire towards Maul. The Zabrak screams in pain as he is burned alive. Palpatine allows him to suffer for a moment before flicking his wrist and decapitating him. He then tosses a lightsaber at the barrel of the weapon, overloading it. Rex drops the flamethrower and leaps aside before it explodes in a gush of fire. He reaches for the blasters, but suddenly feels his throat tightening as Palpatine strangles him with the Force. He does the same with Ahsoka and lifts them off the ground.
You were fools if you believed this would mean the end to my plan.
Let them go, Palpatine.
Ah, young Skywalker. You've come just in time to watch as I execute your failed apprentice and this defective clone captain.
It's over. As we speak, the Jedi Council is approaching the planet.
With lightning-fast reflexes, Palpatine attempts to hurl Ahsoka and Rex at Anakin to turn the tide of the battle. But Anakin anticipates the attack and dodges them. Anakin meets Palpatine's blade with his own, their lightsabers clashing in a dazzling display of light. The air crackles with the intensity of the duel as the hallway fills with the Force. Anakin's movements are fluid and precise, as his mind has been cleared of all distractions. Now he knows who his true enemy is, and matches Palpatine blow for blow. Anakin's eyes narrow with determination as he presses the offense, his every strike aimed at dismantling the Chancellor's defenses. Palpatine, his twisted grin never faltering, unleashes a barrage of dark side energy, seeking to overwhelm Anakin. But Anakin, drawing upon the light side of the Force, raises his hand and absorbs the lightning, not allowing the dark side to overwhelm him for a second time. Finally, in a moment of opportunity, Anakin sees his chance to strike. With a swift and decisive motion, he lunges forward, his lightsaber arcing towards Palpatine. The Chancellor is caught off guard, but is a second too late. The blue blade sinks into his head, and a look of shock and disbelief crosses the Chancellor's face as he staggers backwards and falls dead on the ground. Shortly after, the rest of the Jedi Council arrives. With Palpatine dead, Bail Organa is made Supreme Chancellor. His first act is to pardon all Jedi and clones, and the second is to order all inhibitor chips removed from the clones. Without proper leadership, the remaining CIS Council members surrender, allowing the Republic to claim victory. The clones are offered a chance to continue serving in the rebuilding process, or to retire with a stipend to help them get started in a new life. Anakin is expelled from the Jedi Order as punishment for his crimes, a punishment he gladly accepts. Instead, he returns to Tatooine to try and help end slavery, accompanied by his wife, their children, and Ahsoka. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.